everyone, it's Andy and welcome to RSL Active's Yoga in the Park. Today, another beautiful day in the park. We're starting to feel that tail end of summer and it might be heating up the rest of this week, but hopefully in the next few weeks it's going to start tapering down to a little bit more cooler, just like today. So today's flow is going to be about a 45-minute flow today because we're going to be going through, before that flow, a couple of modifications that I've noticed in the last few weeks. Now, as always, I'm going to take it slow so we can build foundations to be able to then progress further along down the track in your practice, as well as being able to go through step by step, so then that way you reduce any chances of injury. When we are going into poses, pain is no good, discomfort's fine, but pain isn't any good. So please, if you do feel pain, back off or just move straight out of the posture. I'll be giving the modifications as I mentioned earlier, and then also move to your range of movement and mobility for today. Each day is a little bit different, so today we can come off with our theme on that one there. When we need to back off is that theme of non-judgment. Now what that means as one of the yoga limbs is not judging yourself too hard or not being judgmental of others. Now, so I want to share a story with you that's happened to me recently and how I got into yoga. So with being in the Special Forces, I was used to doing so many cool adventurous things. It was hard on the body, but I absolutely loved it. And all the activities that I used to be able to do, as I discharged medically, I couldn't do them anymore from my service. Right, so things like shoulders, back, ankles, knees, they all sort of gave way from my military service. But I wanted to still be able to do things like doing activities. That's the type of person I am. When I couldn't do them anymore, I fell into a deep hole with my mental health, and it took a while when one of my friends and mentors taught me breathing to start off with, but also then yoga, which I found a great way to be able to supplement my strength and training with something that was more conducive to my injuries, and I could also work on my mobility and stretching in line with my physio and EPs. That's how I got into it. I didn't start off here out in the park in the middle of everyone here just watching what I'm doing. No, I called it yoga in the dark, not yoga in the park, where I did it in the dark pretty much following my phone along with yoga flows to be able to get through because I didn't want anyone to see me. So now moving fast forwarding to that is not being judgmental about where we're at. You know, sometimes we can get to that point where, you know, a few months ago I was in a really good spot with my yoga practice, and then something threw a spanner in the works which didn't allow me to be able to do that, which was arthritis in my feet and legs, which has been excruciatingly painful for the last 8 weeks. And I share that with you because I've managed to be able to change my yoga and my strength and conditioning training to be able to be fit for purpose and to be able to move to my range of mobility. So I invite you today, along with mental blank, along with our theme of non-judgment, to come and join into this practice. So we're going to start from a standing position today. After I have a quick drink. Alright, so I'm going to record this all in one, but it's going to be in two parts. The first part is the modifications which I've noticed just recently in some of the flows with some of the guys coming in, and that's for Sun Salutation A and Sun Salutation B, as well as some other finer points to note in terms of postures and cues. Okay, so that's for injuries, and we're going to be using the blocks. So I really promote the use of blocks to be able to help you get into those positions and also bring the ground floor up so that you can benefit the most from the position. Alright, so the first thing that I noticed is the sun salutations, and that's the building heat after we've done some warm-ups with the spines of our cat-cows. Alright, So actually, I back up. Let's do some of the modifications for cat-cow, because there's a few things besides just the arching and the dipping of the back and the arching of the back. You can have side cat-cows as well as rounded cat-cows. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of different variations. All right, so what we're going to do is start off on our hands and knees. All right, so I'm going to move this a little bit. All right, let's move the camera. Trying to do some camera production as well here at the same time. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is starting off with our hands and knees, is hand shoulder width apart, as well as having our hands splayed, which is open like this, facing the front of the mat, underneath our shoulders, knees with the shoulder width apart. You can tuck or untuck your toes coming in here. Now, the traditional cat-cows means that we're dipping. On the inhale, we're dipping our belly and then opening up our chest, keeping our gaze slightly forward. And then when we exhale, moving into cat or angry cat, is we're arching our back the other way, or pushing our back up towards the sky and then tucking in our tailbone as well as our chin. So we're tucking in and then moving our chin in last. So we're going to take a couple of rounds like this. This is when we're coming in to our cat-cows. Now there's some modifications on this as well. So when you hear modifications of be intuitive with your practice of doing some side cat-cows and rounded cat-cows, there's a couple of little things that we can do. So let's start off with the side cat-cows, where we can move our body to the side. So we're imagining, instead of pushing our spine to the roof, we're imagining pushing it to the side that we're leaning to and moving our head in the opposite direction, keeping it neutral. So we're making like a windscreen washer type action, right? And our hips are also moving to the side. So they're the side cat-cows, moving our spine along that plane instead of up and down. All right, and the next one is also the sort of rounding around the clock cat-cows. I forget the name, I've been lost for words at the moment. Right, so what we're going to be doing is sort of bending our elbows and then taking some dips around. So we're going to be arching our back and then dipping our back and making a circular motion. And then we can link this into our breath by the inhale as we come around to 6 o'clock, bending our elbows, and then exhaling as we come around to 12. So that's the rounded cat-cows. We're going to change direction now. Come around the other way. Oops, felt some cracks then. Alright, so that's warming up the spine a little bit. So now we have our cat-cow, a side cat-cow, and then the rounded around the clock one. You might also notice in different sessions that you can accentuate that cat-cow movement, which will also help when we're moving to this sun salutation component in a minute of the modifications. Alright, so from here, hands, we always set our base first, right? And not be judgmental of it. Alright, so we can bend, so normal cat-cow, inhale, dip the belly, open the chest. Alright, raise the tailbone, exhale, scoop the pelvis, push away with our hands, push away with our back, and then tuck our head as the last bit. So 2 things here, right? Now to extenuate this, we can actually bend our elbows and come into the action and then bend our elbows as we come out of the action into angry cat. So inhale, bending the elbows, and then exhaling, bending the elbows. Alright, so 3 or 4 different modifications for being intuitive with our flow. So you might have a yoga teacher say, alright, now so take some intuitive parts to the flow. So that might look something like this, where you're actually just scanning your body and seeing what works for you today and in that moment. Alright, so we might start off with some normal cat-cows, and then the yoga teacher might say move side to side, Alright, and then for the last couple is just be intuitive with your movements just to loosen up the back. Right, we're not going too hard at the moment, we're just loosening up those joints. Right, and we will meet in tabletop, which is neutral position as we started off. Okay, so that's the first modification. And now the second modification that I'm going to go through in a moment is the sun salutation. Now, not everyone, off the bat has got the upper body strength to be able to do a push-up. It's a hard move. In yoga they call that chaturanga, moving from a plank position to a push-up. So in your workouts you might have noticed before that you might lose some body strength for whatever reason, whether a shoulder's a bit bunged or your chest, that you've been just working at the desk for a while. Sometimes it might be hard to lower your whole body weight to the ground. So we're going to be going through some modifications now to be able to address that. Alright, with sun salutations, alright, and we're coming in here. I'm going to come to the side of the mat for the front camera. Alright, so from here we build our base, alright, of feet shoulder width apart. We lift our toes and put them down slightly wider, always building a good base, as well as making sure that our weight is on the heels as well as the toes. Alright, we're facing the front and we're imagining spiking through our heels and then lengthening our spine or lengthening our body with the crown of our head aiming towards the sky, reaching towards the sky, hands by our sides. Now I'm going to go through the sun salutation as you would normally do it, and then go through some of the modifications. So we're going to inhale, lift our hands, we're looking up, our shoulders are back, and actually some of the bits here up, we've gone through correction. What we're going to do is the modification straight off the bat, and some bits where I've noticed some of the students asking me questions afterwards as if it's okay to do this. So the first one is really from this point, right, is inhaling to lift the hands up. So if your mobility is at 45 degrees, you're still lifting your hands up, right, and you're keeping your shoulders back instead of building them up to the ears to be hands up. Your range of movement might be a little bit higher, and that's okay. Or your hands together. Each one of those is okay with how we're moving it. Now, a secret as well is to grab our trusted block at this sort of stage. So setting our feet, we lift our hands up, and it might be here for today, and we're imagining that we're holding the block. So if you're trying this at home, is holding the block. Then from here, we're going to forward fold, hinging at our hips, and then coming down, and then we're bending our knees. Right, so because we're still warming up our back, we can actually sort of bend our knees and push our butt back a little bit, and aiming for our belly to come onto our thighs, like this, right? And the last thing once we're hinging over is then we loosen our head. Oop, there was a crack there, right? And it might help with your hands as well. So if you can't touch the ground, this is a really good spot with your block to be able to raise that ground floor, okay? So this is the bit now where we could come in. I'm going to go that again. So from mountain pose, we're going to inhale, hands up with our block. We're holding our block. Right, 45 degrees is fine. And then we're exhaling to forward fold. We're bending our knees, hinging down at our hips. And as we come and feel the stretch in the back of our legs, then we release our head. And you can put this down. The next thing is coming into what they call halfway lift. So it's like if you imagine a bookshelf, right? We're going to be coming up, we're going to breathe in, and we're going to raise our hands towards our legs where we can support our weight and our back is straight. Our gaze is looking, if we use the block as a prop, looking straight down. Okay, so we've got a straight back and we've got straight legs. And then this is the bit here, if you've got some upper body strength or mobility issues like in your ankles, something like that, where we could come down. So the next phase is to breathe out, hands on hips again, hands meet the mat, and you could come down in 2 stages. Right, so if you're not ready to do a plank pose. This is plank pose, right, coming up into the push-up position. Right, that's a bit sore for me from my ankles, from the injuries that I've had. So I'm going to come down to my knees. We can step down one at a time to our knees. And if you notice, we're in tabletop, and we're in a slightly longer position. So where my hands usually would be underneath my shoulders, they're about another hand's length in front, like this. Okay, let's move that to the front. So that is one movement. So usually we would come down and do a lowered push-up, right? So we're coming in, and this is the alternate plank position. So from there, we breathe in, and then they call it knees, chest, chin, right? This is usually as well used as one of the first moves before going into a full lowering push-up. Okay, so it's like this. We inhale to move and shift our weight forward, so our hands are above our shoulders are above our hands again, and then we exhale as we go knees, chest, chin, and our head comes down to the ground. All right, so that's the first movement. That's modification 1. Now I want to show you an alternate movement when it comes to coming down and with the back bend. All right, so we're going to be moving with our hands forward again. We're going to inhale. This is lowering, I'm doing the push-ups on the knees, right? And then we exhale. Hands by our sides, right? Keeping them by the sides so that at the end here, you can see that our elbows are facing back, right? And our shoulders are back. Okay, so that's a big one. Shoulders are back and our elbows are facing towards the back of the room. Okay, or the back or the short edge of the mat on the other side where your feet are. Okay, so from here we're going to go into baby cobra. Now if you can imagine someone pulling up on your shirt like this, that's what we're trying to imagine to get that sense of when we're doing that first back bend, right, or the cobra pose. And then what we're doing is actually pushing away with our hands instead of dumping back with our neck or pushing up with our back, right? So we're warming up the back still a little bit, building heat. So we're down here, we've come down into it from our push-up, and then we're gonna breathe in and we just push up slightly. Now this is okay, we don't need to have a big movement, all right? So a small movement like this is great, especially for those guys who've had some back surgery done and they are willing to be able to see if they can have some mobility within their practice. But that's the safest way to be able to do that small back bend and then warm up the back like that. So again, we're going to come down, we're going to inhale, and then we're going to exhale to lower, knees, chest, chin, and then we're going to inhale again, elbows are back. We're pushing the ground away, and also pushing against our feet, keeping our gaze neutral, right? So we're not dumping on our head like this. We're just keeping our head pushed back. Exhale now, and then from here we inhale, push back on our hands, and then we can come up to downward dog this way, right? Which is our downward dog. And as you can see with me, I've got my knees bent. That's a good way to start off, and we could start to pedal the feet. But if you can notice here, right, downward dog is about lengthening the spine. So we're pushing away with our hands, our knees, our feet are hip width apart, and you see my knees are bent, and I've kind of got my belly on my thighs again, just like with forward fold. But I'm pushing away, and my gaze this time is at my feet, right? That's where we're wanting to go, and the tailbone is still getting a sense of being pushed backwards and up, right? So that lengthens my spine. Okay, that's a big one, right? So that's the first action. But sometimes we can't lower down fully to do the push-up. So in that case, what we would then be doing is a modified part. And this is where it would come from. All right, so from here, we're gonna set mountain pose. We're gonna breathe in. Sorry, I'll use the block. Breathe in, using the block, hands up. Exhaling, bending the knees, hinging at the hips, forward fold, release the neck. Breathing in, pushing up against our block or hands on our shins or thighs to keep some support. All right, halfway lift. Exhaling as we come back down, probably hands on blocks. 1 step, 2 step, and then getting into our lengthened tabletop position, right? Sometimes we can't lower just now. So it's okay to be able to have this next modification is breathing in as we shift our weight forward, and then we're doing a modified cow. So we're lowering our belly, opening up our chest, and then coming back and pushing away from our hands, tucking our toes, and then coming into downward dog. Right, so I'm going to come and do that in reverse. All right. So if we're not able to do the full push-up or low push-up, chaturanga, we'll come down to our open, elongated tabletop. We're going to breathe in, and we're going to come into a cow. Right, looking forward, right, opening up our chest. That's the back bend there still. So that's the back bend, that part, opening up our chest. And then exhaling, pushing back, tucking our toes, lifting our knees. You could do it one at a time. And then imagining our tailbone going backwards and up, gaze to feet, pushing away with our hands and lengthening our spine. Right, at this stage here, you can bend your knees or you can straighten them, whatever's in your practice for the day. And then there's a couple of last bits here. It's coming from the next modification, is coming up back to standing. So there's a couple of ways about it, right, which I'll go through now. It's about safely getting up onto your feet, that side of the mat. All right, so coming from here, all right, is we might take our breath in, lift our hips, then exhale, bend our knees, and then to start off with, we take lots of little steps. We're pushing away with our hands. That's how we could come up to meet our feet. And we all meet in this forward fold position. Now, there's a couple of other modifications to do this. So if we're going to try and come up, sometimes it's easier for us, if at the moment our mobility is not quite there, is to walk our hands back. That's okay, because then we can be meeting in forward fold, bending at the knees. The third way, right? Let's go back forward, right? So this is sometimes a little bit different to the traditionalists, but it's making sure that we can do this safely and then within our mobility and change, right? It's all about doing that and enjoying the practice. So, and then another one as well is to walk your hands in and feet to meet your hands and knees in the middle, okay? And then breathing up, hands up, coming down. So we've just gone through a couple of different modifications, and what we'll do now is go through a couple of rounds to be able to create that into a flow today of our cat-cows and our sun salutations with a couple of modifications. So I'm going to go through 3 times, so then that way it covers each of the 3 modifications for today's session. Okay, so we're going to start off on our hands and knees. All right, tabletop position, our hands are splayed, shoulder width apart, hands underneath shoulders, knees underneath our hips, and we're going to take a couple of cat cows here, not hat cows. Is hat cows? Cat cows. Oh, I'm losing it. All right, here we go. Here we go, team. Inhale. We're going to dip our belly and take our gaze forward as well as opening up our chest. Exhaling as we push our spine up to the roof, push away from our hands, and then we're tucking in our tailbone. We're going to do this 2 more times. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Back to neutral. Now we're going to take a couple of side cat-cows. We're going to do 3 sets, 3 rounds each side. So inhale, look to the left, push to the right. Exhale, push to the left and look to the right. Inhale to the center. Exhale, look to the left. Inhale to the center. Exhale, push to the right. Inhale to the center. Exhale, push to the left. Look to the left, push to the right, sorry. Inhale to center and push to the right. Okay, so what we're going to be doing now is some intuitive circles. All right, go 3 each way, and then we're going to change around the other way. So this is modification number 3. So we're going to come in now, inhaling, come down to 6 o'clock, exhaling, rounding the spine, exhaling. 1, inhaling, bending the elbows. 2 and 3, meeting back at the center. All right, we're going to go now and do the other way. We're going to go around, circle 1, circle 2, circle 3. All right, and then you can intuitively see where we are. We're bending our back and just loosening everything up. All right, seeing what we need for today's flow. From here, we're going to be coming into our first downward dog. So we're going to be stretching our hands and feet. So what we're going to do is we're going to tuck our toes. We're going to push up against our hands and lift our knees up, as well as pushing our hips back and up. Tailbone looks in. We're looking at our gaze to our feet, pushing away from our hands, and our knees, our belly is on our thighs. Now you can choose to pedal it out, which just means stretching out the back of our Achilles and calves and the back of the legs, as well as stretching out the feet and the toe muscles. So important. When you don't have that mobility, oh my God, it's you miss it so much and you take it for granted when you do. All right, so we're going to come into a little bit of stillness now, and we're going to take 3 breaths here. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do the full walk up this time. We're going to breathe in and exhaling to meet our feet. Now we're in the halfway lift, we're in the forward fold position. All right, and we're going to inhale all the way up. Look at our hands to the sky. All right, imagining that we're holding a beach ball or grabbing the block and coming down. So that was round 1. Oh no, it's not even round 1. That was coming up to the position. So we're going to do sun salutation with the first variation, right? Knees, chest, chin. So from here, we're going to set our stance and have our feet shoulder width apart, lifting our toes, looking down, right? Toes facing the short edge of the mat. Straight, we're spiking up through our feet, growing tall and inhaling with our hands. All right, holding this actually, my bad. We'll do that again. Incorrect demonstration. All right, so from here, inhaling, we're holding the block in our hands, exhaling, bending, hinging, gaze to feet, belly to thighs, forward fold. Inhaling, our hands come to our shins, straighten the back, or we can push up against the block. Exhaling, bending the knees again, belly to thighs, hands meet mat. Part 1, part 2, where we are in a longer tabletop. And then from here, knees, chest, chin, lower. So inhale, bring our weight forward to our shoulders in line with our hands, and exhaling, knees, chest, chin, head down. Hands by our side, shoulders, elbows facing back. Inhaling, pushing away from our hands, baby cobra. Exhaling, head back down. Inhaling as we push up from our hands, tuck our toes, and then come up one knee at a time if we're watching injuries, and coming into pedaling the feet a little bit, and then our first downward dog in sun salutation. All right, so let's walk up this time around. So inhaling, walking up, taking lots of little steps till our feet meet our hands. grab the block again and inhaling, coming up. Hands come up to the top and exhale, hands down. Great work, guys. Okay, we're going to be doing 2 more with the different modifications. All right, so let's go for round 2. Block in hand. Inhale, set. Feet, hands, grow tall. Inhale, hands raise. Come to meet using the block, gaze at the block. Exhaling, hinging at the hips, coming down the midline. Belly to thighs. Head's the last bit to go. Using the block, inhaling and pushing up, straightening the back and straightening the legs, using the block as support. Exhaling now, we're going to use the blocks again. Step 1, step 2. Alright, and we're going to move the block out of the way and we're in that longer tabletop position. From here, we're not doing the back bend and lower, we're moving forward and coming into a modified cat-cow. That's our back bend, and exhale. Coming back, pushing up from our feet, tucking our toes in and belly to thighs, bending those knees. Right, into downward dog. Now we're going to take 3 breaths. And then breathing into set. And this time I'm going to move my hands back to meet my feet at the back of the mat, in forward fold, and then inhaling with my hands, imagining, because my block's over there, raising it up, and then exhaling down. Fantastic work. So the last one now, I'm going to go down for a knees, chest, chin from a plank position, and then I'm going to walk up using my hands and feet as the final modification for our session. So let's set. Feet, toes, feet, hips width apart, growing tall, inhaling, hands up, looking at the hands, holding the block in between, exhaling, letting the breath guide you down, hinging at the hips, bending the knees, or we might be able to straighten our legs a little bit more now. Forward fold. Inhaling, using the block, straightening our back, straightening our legs. Exhaling, step 1, step 2. Alright, this one here is going to be knees, chest, chin. Right, the full knees, chest, chin. We're going to inhale to shift our weight forward, and then exhaling, knees, chest, chin. Alright, and then inhale, shoulders back, baby cobra. Exhaling, head back down, pushing away from our hands, tucking the toes, coming up one at a time, downward facing dog. We always meet here after a flow, so you can choose to do the flow, and you can also choose not to do it. So if you get tired and there's a flow, or a vinyasa they call it, you can choose to actually not do it and just go into a baby pose, which I'll show you in a moment. So from here, we've done our breaths, and we're going to now meet with our hands in the middle, in forward fold. I'm going to grab my block this time, inhaling, straightening the back, lifting the blocks and the hands, and exhaling, shaking it out. Alrighty guys, as always, we'll be posting this session afterwards. That's going to round off our day. So what we're going to do is finishing off our session. We're going to reach for the sky, hands together, close your eyes down, take your thumbs between your eyes, peace, be in mind, put your thumbs to lips, peace in what we say internally and externally, and to our heart, peace be with what's in our heart today. May we reflect on our intention of non-judgment, not being too hard on ourselves, and being able to accept where we are for this particular moment, whether it's physical, mental, or what we're doing. All right, thanks for joining me in this flow today. Namaste. All right, so if you have any questions, please hit the comments below and I'll respond or give you some other modifications to your mobility. All right, see you next time on the mat.